The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Hi folks, it's Barry Chamish. I'm back for my second hour, and I want to say Shlomo, he came out. I'm very proud of him. It took a while. You had to drag it out of him, but he sees the world more to my liking than you know. But now I invited Janet Phelen on. She sent me a note, and it was disturbing. She gave an interview to something I've never heard of, the Gathering of Christ Church. Never heard of it, but boy, I listened to that interview. Very scary stuff. Janet, go into it.
Yeah, hi Barry.
Hi,
Good
Janet.
afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
It's evening where I am. It's nice and dark now, but look, I listened to that, and look, I'm hidden from the worst, and what we have enemies out there. My Lord in heaven, they're very hateful. What is this Gathering of Christ Church?
Well,
what were you doing on that show, first of all?
Well, apparently, these are black Christians, some of whom believe that they are part of the lost tribes of Israel, and therefore are Jews. Yeah, and they apparently are full of antagonism and some very misguided ideas about Ashkenazi Jews, or even possibly Sephardic Jews.
I say Jews in general, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, what I heard was immense hatred. I mean, deep-seated stuff. Now, they, of course, Israel's going to be destroyed, and we're going to be destroyed, and everything. It was terrible stuff. What is this Jewish conspiracy? What are we talking about here? And by the way, your answer to them was great. But let's go into it. What are we talking about now?
Well, apparently, okay, let's start from the beginning. I was invited onto this show to discuss some of my work surrounding water as a weapon. And as you know, I have been researching and reporting for some years now on reconfigurations in the water system in the United States, and apparently
we'll do that last.
Yeah, but right. But I'm not going to go into that reconfiguration now. But I want to lay the groundwork here. So I was invited to discuss this issue because we do have what appears to be a biological or chemical weapons, a covert chemical weapons delivery system, which could potentially target.
We'll do that last. Go on
Democrats
to the show.
So they invited me on to talk about this, and they were the host was sort of insisting that this could very well target Black Americans, which I believe it very well could be. However, from that point on, we seem to diverge in our understanding of global dynamics, because the host individual started to front the ideas that this was a Jewish conspiracy. In fact, that everything that really is happening on the world stage now is a Jewish conspiracy. When I brought up the fact that, of course, Obama's not Jewish, the answer was very clear here. Anyone who isn't Jewish, who is in politics, is simply a puppet of the Jews. So that's very convenient, by the way. that's a way to simply mitigate any concerns that there are international players who aren't Jewish. So we started, we began to kind of butt heads here. I made a statement early on that that I'm concerned about all the hate speech. I didn't delineate, hate speech against who or whatever, but I said, really, this hate speech based on group affiliation, whether it's race or religion or whatever, this hate speech has to stop, because this does not advance a better understanding of what's happening in the world, nor does it advance, any cause related to peace. And apparently,
You went farther than that. You went farther even than that.
Did I? What did I say? Stop the hate
You said the
speech.
same sort of talk that came in the 40s that led to the Holocaust. Come on, I'm not going to remind you of. You gave him a real comeuppance.
Well, I began to hear from the host then, who up until that point I thought, was really interested in my information concerning, biological and chemical weapons and so forth. At that point, as I mentioned, we began our paths began to diverge, and he began to take the position that, all negative events on the world stage were a Jewish conspiracy. He started to say, well, that Christopher Columbus, who was a Roman Catholic, was a Jew.
That's an old. That I don't even know why that would be a bad thing. Great, we've got a Jewish explorer, but that lie has been around for ages.
Well, there were more lies. The slave traders who came, to Africa and took slaves away from Africa, they were all Jews. I brought up the fact, of course, that as we know, there were black people selling black people into slavery, but that was apparently, according to the host, that was irrelevant because it was, I believe he said there were Spanish Jews who were the slaves. I thought the Jews had been expelled from Spain in 1496.
Don't dive into it. This guy was deluded about everything. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Jews on the mind. He saw a Jew in every single conspiracy. Everywhere you turn, it was a Jew. Now, we have Obama as a puppet. We have Columbus as a Jew. We have the Spanish Jew slave traders. We had the Arthur Kessler and the Khazar.
He did that. I missed that. He missed.
Yeah. Oh, of course. That's one of the favorites.
Nonsense.
That's one of the favorite drums to beat here.
There was a little itty bitty state where the leadership were given a choice: choose what you want. They chose Judaism. They became the Jews of the world. They're not Ashkenazi. They're not Sephardim. They're Khazars. This is standard hatred. All right, away we go.
Now, I want to ask you something, because you may know more about this than I do, Barry, but isn't this whole Khazar issue...
Oh, leave it be. I don't even look at it. The author of the book, he's a good author.
Arthur Kessler.
Yeah, he's a good author, but this was never meant... I don't think... He was a Jew. I don't think it was his object to stir up anti-Semites. Look... Let's go to what you said. You said that you're talking the same language that led to the Holocaust. That's what you said to him.
Yeah, I guess I did. I guess that kind of irritated him. I said that what he was doing was he was repackaging anti-Semitism. And at that point, he appeared to ignite and started talking about playing the victim card and so forth.
Yes, it sure did, but it didn't work.
Wow.
You actually stood up, and look, the fact of the matter is this is the propaganda that was used, and it did lead to the Germans slaughtering Jews. It's the same language. Whoever
it's the same language, and it's happening again.
I know.
Yeah.
Very disturbing.
And I find, what I find so interesting here is we have a group of people, basically African Americans, apparently were mostly involved in producing this show, who have had some really dramatic experiences of oppression in America. And what they have apparently chosen to do is to adopt the same sort of verbiage of the Germanic oppressors,
with an
and
with an accent, and I made notes. Is this? I hope it's not common. I really hope he's some sort of weirdo that you got on the show, but I think it may be common.
well, this is very important. That's a very important point because I think that this kind of verbiage is actually becoming alarmingly common. There are all kinds of websites now that are promoting this sort of perceptions. There are a lot of radio talk show hosts who are promoting the same perceptions. It's becoming uncomfortably uh, like Germany in the 30s. And I don't
I
believe I'm.
analyzed what I analyzed the show. You've forgotten what you said. You were actually really good, but you don't know why. So we're look, his Jewish conspiracy that will and Israel will be destroyed and all this. It wasn't based on reality. It was based on what he believes, and that's worrisome as hell. He actually believes this. Now I'm going to go into it. I went point by point. This guy, you get a lot of this. You have a guy who has no connection to Judaism thinking he's a Jew, and the Jews have got to go and he's got to take over. It's really scary.
Well, I believe that there may have been a bloodline that ended up in Africa. This is not
A
something.
big deal that they're not them. Look, if you want to go and say, sure, and we're proud of them if they went to Africa, uh, they came back as Ethiopians, one tribe. Who cares about that? This guy is not related to them. He's taking over Judaism in order to destroy Jews. Oh, I
Well,
think
that's
this.
a very interesting thing to say because I think that there may be other very subterranean threads within Judaism that are dedicated to the same sort of
Look, you
endpoint.
can go into Sabbateanism, but at
Yes.
least it's ours. This, genetically, at least it's ours. Uh, doesn't mean we
Well,
got to be proud
genetically,
of it. But,
this brings up such interesting points because what is a Jew? Is a Jew
oh,
based on
don't do
genetics?
this.
No,
Don't
but I'm
do
saying,
this.
I'm saying,
We have our own genes. We have two separate genes. It's all been traced. Don't do this. You're so wrong wherever you're going with this. Look, I'm going to go into what he said, and don't try and justify anything that he said. Nothing. All right. Number one, what he said. First of all, he hasn't got a clue what Zionist means. It's a complicated issue. It's divided as hell. It includes religious, it includes right wing. What took over is the basic left wing Zionists, and he hasn't got a clue. He just uses Zionists as anything he wants. You all got to go. If you are a Zionist, you are guilty of dual loyalties. What, you missed that?
Oh no, I heard that. I
I
did hear that.
I'm so delighted. You understand what that means by dual loyalties. You're
Why
not
don't you go ahead?
no, you tell what if you're a Zionist, you're guilty of dual loyalties. You look, it implies traitors, all right? Now come on, do this properly and don't go off on tangents that are wrong and irrelevant. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I think what he's trying to say is that individuals who have dual citizenship in Israel and the United States are working their U.S. Citizenship for the some sort of
That's not what
nefarious
he's saying at all.
Israeli.
He's not.
Okay, well then you tell us. What is he saying?
No, that's finally close. It doesn't matter if they've got citizenship of Israel in the United States. If you're a Zionist, you are working against the United States. In other words, you are working against him. In other words, you are a traitor and we'll deal with you. Look, you didn't even understand what he was saying.
Well, I think maybe I did understand it, and I started to explain it maybe in different words than you were saying it. But
All right, what were your words?
Nevertheless, what is sort of disturbing here is that, to me, what was really noteworthy and disturbing about a couple of things about this interview was, the attempted demonization, total demonization of the Jewish people, in very similar ways that they were being demonized back in Germany in the 30s.
Very good, you're right. Now, once again, he said, but not all Jews are Zionists. Now, what does that tell you?
I'd like to hear from you on that one.
You did an interview? It implies that there's some good Jews, and it justifies getting rid of the rest. You didn't hear this?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, at one point, he wanted to know about my background, and I dutifully replied, honestly, Jewish mother, Catholic father. And at that point, he appeared to step back, and he starts saying things like, oh, well, you wouldn't go against your own people then. As
Which
if
one, the Catholics or the Jews?
Well, I'm assuming, Jews, because you can hear him, you could hear the words, you could hear the wheels turning, because he goes, oh, well, it goes through the mother, so you're Jewish, and you wouldn't turn against your own people, which meant that suddenly I was not reliable as a reporter. The very reasons that he asked me on the air to discuss these, really groundbreaking work on biological, chemical weapons delivery systems, suddenly that was sort of out the window because I wasn't reliable because I had a Jewish mother. And he made a similar statement, you may have noticed. He was talking about Albert Pike, who was Christian, and I brought that out. He said, oh, but he had Jewish blood. And
he did, by the way.
Well,
this is another prejudice that goes
another
back.
Prejudice. So apparently it's not. Well, this raises, and I too have Jewish blood. So therefore, what a person it's not really their education or their intentions or their work. It has to do with what's in their blood. So that's how you judge whether or not somebody can be trusted or not.
No, he didn't say that. He said if you're a Jew and you're not a Zionist, we'll let you live. Really, he
I don't
was
remember him saying
inferring that.
I don't remember that.
Look, what he said is some Jews aren't Zionists, and they're good Jews. The rest gotta go. That's the message. It was very plain.
So to me, Zionism means the right of Israel to exist. So Jews
Again, I'm going to say it. What's Zionism? What are you talking about? It's a vast movement, and they're at each other's throats. Which Zionism are you talking about? And if you don't answer this right, you're guilty of what he's guilty of.
Oh, well, really, I mean, like I said, to me, Zionism means, that it was a movement to create the state of Israel. So
it was a movement to wipe out religious Jews. That's called labor Zionism. Don't use the word Zionist to describe a broad movement. That's not what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I the way that he was using words and the way that he was twisting facts and realities, made it very difficult to understand what in the world he was talking about, except one thing emerged very clearly. He hates Jews. Now, this issue having to do with the destruction of Israel, that really alerted me here, because as you know, Barry, it is my contention that Israel is slated for destruction. And
Mine
to
as
have this
well.
man
You know, for the
agree
same
with me.
reason.
Sorry, what?
It's mine as well. Possibly not for the same reasoning, but it's mine as well.
Yes. Well, so this became sort of confusing because, he agreed that with my perception that Israel is slated for destruction, but then this is part of the Jewish conspiracy. So you destroy the homeland and destroy all the people in the homeland, and that's more evidence of the Jewish conspiracy, huh? At this point, there is such a massive disconnect that I simply, began to go into some sort of tailspin in trying to understand what he's talking about. So the Jews control the world. The Jews are going to make us all bow to their own belief system, and the Jews are going to destroy all the Jews. I mean, this is basically what he's saying, and at that point...
Basically, he's right. If you talk about left-wing Zionism, who founded the State of Israel, who despise the religious deeply, he's probably right. But he doesn't know that.
So, okay, so what your belief then? Let me just try to clarify.
Well, it's not a belief, all right? Unfortunately, I can say accurately, we lost a lot of people due to connivance with labor Zionism and the Nazis and a whole bunch of things that
Yes.
do not take into account. And
Yes.
they exist, sadly. Very sadly. You know, I was on a show, Caravan to Midnight, is that what it's called?
Yes.
I was on a few days ago. I'm not sure how you get in except to write me and I'll send you a password. I'm going to send you the password as well. Why he does this, I don't know. But I explain how it worked. Without Israel, we wouldn't, look, not necessarily, but probably not have had the Holocaust. And there's a whole history, this simpleton far from understood. And frankly, you answered him properly, and from what you're saying, you don't understand it either.
Well, I'm not sure what you're saying I don't understand. I think that
I'm
there are
saying
certainly
that within
sectors. Wait, let me finish my
Judaism-
sentence. Let me finish my sentence, please.
Yes.
I am aware that there are sectors within, what sort of, Jewish community, whatever you want to call it, that there are sectors who appear to be working against the best interests of Jews and against the best interest of Israel. Now, you're saying that they are all labor Zionists.
Oh my goodness gracious! You know what? I'm not going to do it. If you go to Caravan, what's it called? Tell me the name of the
Caravan to Midnight with John Wells.
John Wells, good interviewer, by the way. You've got to hear me out. We had a very bad time in the 30s and 40s, and I'm not going to dive into it. What he's saying is all Jews are the same sort of Zionists, and he hasn't got a clue. This was an ignoramus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? When we get back, you'll plug yourself, and didn't you notice when the callers came a little later, he addressed everyone with shalom. It's probably the only Hebrew word he knows. You didn't notice that?
Oh, I did notice that, yes.
Now, what does that say? Why is he, shalom listener, why is he doing this? If he hates us so much, why is he stealing our greeting? It gets weird. This show got weird.
The show got weird. Well, I think one of the reasons he hates us is that in his thinking, we stole Judaism from him. And he is the real Jew and we are the imposters.
Well, then why doesn't he say hello and that's good enough? He doesn't have to say shalom and steal our word. Look, it was a very, very hackneyed but dangerous interview. And you know what? We'll be back in 3 minutes. I'm blasting off more than letting you. I don't think you know the good you did. From what I'm hearing, you didn't. You don't know that you did some really great stuff. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Folks, I'm spouting off, and I shouldn't, but this is my subject here. Folks, this is Barry Chamish. We'll be back.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Hello, folks. It's Barry Chamish back, and just to remind you, all my books are available at lulu.com. That's when the music ends, you'll hear my website is, first of all, go to lulu.com for all my books, and that's www.lulu.com. There's a search box right in my name. Chamish, Chamish. That'll get you to my books. And, well, thank you, David Samarin. I've got a website up. It's barrychamish.com. And, Janet, tell people how to get a hold of you.
Well, that just became more difficult. My website was recently hacked, and it has completely disappeared. So you can no longer contact me through my website. However, if you look for me on Facebook, Janet C. Phelen, you can contact me that way.
No, you got to spell your name. How do you spell the whole thing? Spell it out.
Janet, Janet, Phelen, P as in popcorn, HELAN. And I also have a book out, as you may know.
All right, plug it.
Yeah, the book is entitled Exile. And I ended up leaving the United States under some very alarming circumstances. I am still outside of the country, and the book goes through those circumstances. Now, why would that be of interest to anyone? Well, because I am drawing the trajectory concerning what happened in Southern California, what happened to me, what happened to my family, and I am drawing certain conclusions based on this that reflect heavily on the U.S.'s agenda, both domestically and abroad.
How do we get exiled?
You can get Exile at thebookpatch.com. So you go to thebookpatch.com and you do a search for Exile, and it is now available both in hard copy and a far cheaper ebook.
All right, good plug-in. Now let's go back. I spent last night listening to your interview, which I'm providing a critique. I guess you were too close to the action. Look, every time a caller called, why on earth, this worries me. Every caller, the first thing he says is, hello, brother. Now, no Jew would use a term, unless it was his brother, Achi, would ever use a term, hello, brother. It doesn't make sense. That's the first thing that threw me off. Why is he using a term that no Jew would ever use to describe a complete stranger? Well, first of all, you tell me.
Well, this man is attempting, I believe the pastor, he's a pastor who hosted the show. I believe he's attempting to create a kind of a movement and a group and a kind of a group think among his listening audience. And I believe that this group think has to do with kind of binding people together in common belief systems, one of which, of course, is rabid anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but why brother? I mean, he called everyone his brother. I mean, these people, he's never met them. Why would he call him a brother?
Because he wants to basically draw them into the way he sees things. And so this is one of the ways to do it. You know, we're all brothers here. We're all black Jew Christians who hate Jews, right?
You know what? That may be it. That may actually be the answer. It's better than what I came up with.
Look, what did you come up with, Barry?
I didn't understand. No Jew would ever. It's not a Jewish way of thinking. All right, but you saw the danger. I mean, they think they're Jews, apparently. And, by the way, we're guaranteed to reject them. Guaranteed. And when that happens, the hatred goes wild. Scary stuff. Scary stuff.
I think what was even scarier here is that I didn't necessarily reject them. I mean, when
they reject... Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying you accepted them, so there won't be any hatred.
Well, I at one point I believe I was asked, why I am taking on these issues and why am I attempting to protect black people, and I said something along the lines of, I don't see that much difference. We're all kind of brothers and sisters under the skin, and I do believe that there is more commonality among people then there are differences. And I do believe that that the focus on the differences, such as the differences in color and so forth, are creating unnecessary animosity and divisions, as perfectly well evidenced by the hate speech involved with the host.
That doesn't. You don't have anything in common. I mean, his talk was so viciously anti-Semitic. Now, you're naive, I'll admit that, but you're not vicious. It's two different personalities.
Well, I'd like to get back to some of the stuff we were talking about the destruction of Israel, because, as you know, it is my contention that the involvement of the United States in the Middle East may very well result in the destruction of Israel, and that it may be through intent. In fact, I have an article at New Eastern Outlook right now called "As Goes Syria, So Goes the World." And what I discuss in this article is I go through some of the domestic policies of the U.S., which evidence a definite eugenics sort of impetus. And there's just, incidents after incidents. There not only the Tuskegee experiments, but quite a bit more that really evidence that the U.S. has always maintained a rather covert eugenics impetus. And then I take this domestic policy and in a sense, I slam it onto the world stage and say, look, given all the meddling of the United States in the Middle East, it is very likely that the U.S. has put Israel at enhanced risk and may, in fact, these policies may result in the destruction of Israel. So when the host was agreeing with me concerning the very potential of the destruction of Israel, I was in a sense kind of snookered in for like a little bit.
I know.
Yeah, I thought that possibly here was somebody who had similar sorts of perceptions, but no, the host believes that the destruction of Israel is part of the Jewish conspiracy. Now, could you explain that to me? Barry, could you explain how that works? I don't understand that.
It means the religious and the right, by the way, they'll be wiped out, and the labor will have new homes elsewhere. And he doesn't know what's going on, but he's actually on the right train of thought there. Look, the fact is, when you got into this, he used the word every biblical prophecy. You didn't notice that suddenly you were talking biblical prophecy?
Oh, I did notice that, yes.
Oh, thank goodness. Now let's tell how the word biblical prophecy becomes biblical hatred, which becomes really super dangerous. Oh, you didn't catch that, did you?
Oh, well, the entire impetus of the New Testament has been used by Jew haters to basically tar Jews with the murder of this individual Jesus. So there is the foundation in the New Testament for those who seek to find cause to buttress their hatred to not to necessarily put this on Pontius Pilate, the Roman, but to put it back on the Jews. So there is the seed within the New Testament of taking the message of Jesus, which he was kind of a hippie, right? Like we should all love each other and turn the other cheek and so forth, to take this message and turn it into a weapon against the Jews, right?
That was part of it. But he also took our Testament. He found prophecy in our Bible, all right? And let me tell you, it's not our prophecy, and they're going to find out that whatever he's preaching, it sure isn't Judaism. That's what got me about your interview. Oh, you didn't hear it. You got to re-listen to it. Yeah, you truly do. you got to hear what he was saying. You didn't even understand him. I didn't understand him. He had long reasoning that made no sense for anything, but it came back to biblical prophecy every time.
It came back to biblical prophecy, and he was also talking about history. Well, I was talking about, the future and the potential destruction of Israel, and he said something like, "Oh, well, you're talking about history," and that kind of took me aback too, because when you're talking about the future and how events may unfold, it's not exactly history; it's it's potential futures. But it did seem that this man was so rooted in his hatred of the Jewish people that he could seize upon almost any statement and take it and twist it to his purposes. And this is very scary. I mean, this reminds me so much of the scenarios in the 30s and 40s.
It sure does. Now the problem is, it's our Bible, but it's not our prophecy, what he's talking about. And no Jew thinks like this, no Jew ever will. But he starts everybody with shalom. Oh gosh almighty, you didn't hear it. I guess you step back a bit and you hear the interview and you see a very definite danger. And I guess you missed it while you were on. I mean, he didn't even know your name. He kept asking you, is it Phelen? You didn't hear that? He didn't even know who you were.
Well, he did mispronounce it. Yeah, but I'm so used to people mispronouncing my name, I kind of like fuzzed that over. I was contacted also by someone else who had heard the interview and friended me on Facebook, and I started looking at his Facebook posts, and it was all about how he was the Jew. He and his other dark-skinned brothers were the Jews, and how all us
why are they happy just being Negroes? Be proud of being black. I mean, what? They have to be Jews?
Well, it goes worse. I mean, it is worse than simply denying that Ashkenazis are Jews. It goes further than that, because what they're saying, in a sense, is that we have robbed them of their history. So not only are we not Jews, but they're, by stealing the claim to being Jews. We've stolen it from them. So, we are twice damned. I have these person's posts. I look at them, regularly. There was a post recently he made where he had a picture of a black person, and underneath that it wrote Jew, and then he had a picture of an Ashkenazi, looked like possibly a Hasid, and then said Jewish. Jewish. So so the black person is a Jew, and the Ashkenazi is Jewish, which means that they're not really Jews. They're kind of like Jews, right? I mean, it's crazy.
This is being done in the name of Christ. In the gathering of Christ Church, we will hate Jews. We will see a Jewish conspiracy everywhere. And someday, I don't know what the someday is. Okay, let's say we're all wiped out. What are they? Where do they fit in?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'd sure like to know the answer to that too. It's interesting because I did some research recently on a phenomenon called dominionism, which is it's actually a political Christian movement that has been infiltrating the Republican Party, and the dominionists are strong supporters of the State of Israel. They have churches and they send money off to the State of Israel and so forth. But one of their primary writers, who is an individual named Gary North, disclosed why that is. It's because, according to biblical prophecy, in order for the rapture to happen, Israel has to be destroyed. So they want to make sure they're supporting. Let me finish this. They want to make sure they're supporting Israel. They're sending all this money to the settlements so that Israel can be destroyed and they can all be raptured up. And he said that explicitly. So what kind of craziness
is that? This is very disturbing. I want to. Listen, I like Christians, and for the longest time, I've been able to relate to them. But if what you just said is true, oh my, there was I'm not going to mention names, but there was a rabbi, lived to 100, his name was Kaduri. Some Christian decided he saw the Messiah before he died. So I emailed him. I said, listen, I know his spokesman, which I did. He was a real source of mine, a very, very prominent source of mine, without diving into whatever. I said, I'll put you on the show with him, and you tell him this, and you hear him answer you. He refused. Why they would do that is something I don't understand. What's the point of it all?
I don't know.
Well, what you said, oh my goodness, it's good. Oh my goodness, I hope you're wrong. I sure hope you're
Now,
wrong.
I've just pulled up here this article that I had written on Dominionism. Once again, it's on New Eastern Outlook, and it's entitled "Dominionism Takes Center Stage in America." And I found here, Gary North has a PhD from one of the universities of
I've heard of
California.
him. I've heard
Right.
of him.
And so here, he wrote a piece called "The Unannounced Reason Behind American Fundamentalist Support for the State of Israel." This is a quote. "In order for most of today's Christians to escape physical death, 2/3 of the Jews in Israel must perish soon. This is the grim prophetic trade-off that fundamentalists rarely discuss publicly, but which is the central motivation in the movement's support for Israel."
You know what?
Yeah.
The Jews know it. I'm just telling you that. We kind of jab ourselves in the ribs when we know it. All right? And this is something they don't get. We don't like it. This is just not... We don't missionize. We don't want you to become Jews. I mean, it's not in our mentality. The same way we don't use brothers or say shalom whenever we meet someone. This isn't our mentality. It won't work.
Well, I think that what I am seeing here is that there are all these sort of movements aggregating separately. Dominionism. We have the Black Christian Jews. We have, all of the, these websites that are popping up, announcing that all the world's problems are because of the Jews. That, in a sense, this ugly, hateful impetus is rearing up again, and rearing up peculiarly at the very time when the U.S.'s engagement in the Middle East again puts Israel at risk. So it does seem to me, and excuse me for sounding like a conspiracy theorist here,
Go ahead.
It does seem to me that a lot of these movements are jumping on the bandwagon, going, yeah, let's get Israel. At
They're
the very
doing
time,
a great job. There's nothing
well, they're
left
doing a
there.
great job.
Nothing left to defend. The land's gone. There's no defensive border. They did a great job. It's a matter of not a lot. Listen, I got a stake in this. My kids are there. My sister, nephew, niece. I got a stake in this. I want that place to survive. Oh God, I don't want to go through it.
Well, I want to go a little further. I want to make very clear that my projections here, as discussed in As Goes Syria, So Goes the World, and some other articles, my projections are that following this destruction of Israel, that these biological and chemical weapon systems are going to be deployed in the U.S. and will be deployed against minorities, including Jews. So I think we all, in a sense, even the haters, like this reverend with the Gathering of Christ's Church, we actually all have a stake in seeing that Israel does survive.
You know the difference. As I said, I've never heard them off telling what they really think. I've never heard a show like what I listened to last night, and really the hatred is so blatant. It's full of. Let's just put it this way: they can't get away with being this blatant about their hatred. He was with you. You stood up to him. That's impressed me, but scary, scary, scary show.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it appears to be part of the signs of the times. If it was just an isolated group of people, sort of raving, madly against us, then that would have been one thing. But unfortunately, it appears to be a message that is being now carried through a number of different groups, and I think for this reason, it was a significant event. And I was, in a sense, when he started to manifest the hate speech, I had to step back for a minute and think, am I going to continue on with this call, or what am I going to do? And I decided that, that it was really incumbent upon me to try to bring some sense into the situation, some reality. And, I simply did the best I could. But unfortunately,
I don't think he was grounded in reality. All right. That's all I'm going to say.
well,
He was a wacko, but he's a wacko with some goal against me.
he's a wacko whose thoughts are being basically echoed by an awful lot of people. So just simply to dismiss him as a wacko doesn't do the issue justice.
What else can you do? Say he's brilliant. He has a great new way of thinking, and I'm really into it.
No, you can say he's dangerous and
Yes.
hateful. Dangerous and hateful.
All right, so wacko, a non-politically correct term. Dangerous is better. All right, gotcha. Away you go. We don't have much time. I'm not sure what this show did, but is it worth telling people how to hear this interview?
Sure. Yeah, you can put Gathering of Christ Church Blog Talk Radio, and you can find it there.
You don't have a website?
Not
where
anymore.
people-
Like I said, it was hacked. It's been completely destroyed just recently. So at this point, I do not. But you can find my articles for the last couple of years at New Eastern Outlook. And you can also contact me through Facebook. And until I get janetphalen.com up and running again, there's no website for me. It was hacked and taken down. So,
Well, all I can say is it revealed a kind of thinking that I would like not to accept as, significant. But people called him. There were people calling him. People listening to this, and it was significant. That's how I saw it at the end. Boy, are we in trouble, us poor Jews.
well, I think as long as we can stand up against this kind of hatred, that we're not poor Jews, we are righteous Jews.
We didn't stand up to it in the 40s. What the Jews of Israel, the religious and right, are going through is a disaster right now. Righteous doesn't help.
Actually, maybe we may differ in opinion here, because I think righteousness is our strongest suit. And so,
Wiped out all but 100,000, killed 6 million righteous people. What a great thing to look forward to. Look, I'm not saying your point of view is wrong. Oh, gosh. I'm saying you could be right, and maybe you are, and I hope you are. But that show and you yesterday, boy, did you shake me up. Folks, this was Janet Phelen, and this is Barry Chamish, another shook up Barry Chamish. I'll see you next Tuesday, folks. Night all.
good night.
Night, Janet.
Thank you, Barry.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.